What's up? This is Vince Carter. You're listening to 3 Point Conversion. Check it out.
Ken, how you doing? Okay. Just to recap on Tuesday's or Saturday's game, just, had some opportunities there. I thought we played well. Should have won the game. Had the chances to win the game. Just unfortunately, we ended up on the wrong side of the result. Got a really tough game tomorrow. A great opportunity, playing a really good Virginia Tech team. Obviously, Coach Young's one of the best coaches in not only in the ACC but in the country. I think they're really good. I told a lot of people at ACC Media Day they'd be a team that has a real shot at winning the league this year. And I know they had a stretch where they had a little tough stretch, but part of that was Couture is out. But they're really good. They're just well coached. They got really good players, and we'll have to play, as good as we've played all year long if we want a chance to win the game.
Right. You're facing another high-scoring offensive team. Yeah. I think the last 6 games they scored over 80 points a game. They like to force the ball down low. I think their center had 33 points the last game. So it's going to be a tough defensive.
Had his last 2 games he had over 30 points. He's really good. He can play inside and outside. And Mutz is a really good passer too.
I asked Lance, when you have a team that likes to force the ball down low, do you feel more comfortable in one defense over the other when?
Well, I mean, we play multiple defenses, kind of what we do, but we'll have to play really good defense. Main thing is we got to get to 70. We got to 70 versus Notre Dame. We won the game. If we got to 70 versus NC State, we would have won. We got to 70 versus Wake Forest, and I said it. If we got to 70, we would have won the game. And because I have enough trust in our defense, we got to 70, and we should have won the game. So we're going to have to score because I think Virginia Tech's a really good defensive team.
I think it was Mark Packer said you guys are negative 101 free throws against your opponents this season. Common trend the last 2 years, but just what do you do about that? I know you don't want to get into talking about officiating, but just how do you, I guess, see that in your mind? I know you guys play tough defense, and that adds something to it, but that's a pretty big statistical anomaly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to because Mark Packer sent me his index card. He calls it his infamous index card, and I have it right here. If I can find it here. Yep. So he sent this to me, and this is not me. This is it used to be Wes Durham and Mark Packer, but now it's just Mark Packer because Wes isn't with him. But he has us last in free throw attempts and most in the difference on the fouls. And it's very hard for me to understand. It is very hard for me to understand. It's nothing. I'm not saying anything about the officials whatsoever. It's just hard for me to understand that because it's whether it's us not getting to the are we not driving enough. I do agree. There's times where we foul, and there's the proper officials have made the right calls. I also know that a 10.1.4 is the ruling in the NC2A officials book about hand checking, and at any drive, if you put your hand. There can be you impede anybody, you put your hand, it should be an automatic foul, 10.1.4. And I've said that many times throughout the course of the year, even coaching, 10.1.4, 10.1.4, 10.1.4, 10.1.4, 10.1.4, to the officials. And so we've got to do a better job of defending without fouling. And I think we do play aggressive D in the half court, and we've got to do a better job defending without fouling. And I just think, and again, this isn't anything with the officials because I think I have, and I said this yesterday on my radio show, and Moose was there. I think I have tremendous respect for officials. I think officiating is a very, very hard job, and I think it's so important that, especially at the youth level, that we really, that we set good examples at this level for the youth level, for parents and coaches to treat officials properly, because we need officials. I mean, you can't have sports without officials, and you can't. So you got to treat everyone properly, and which includes the officials, so that's most important. That being said, I think just in general, I think a big rule is 10-1-4. And I think that's the thing to be looked at the most. And is there 10-1-4 being, are we getting enough 10-1-4s on our way when we're driving to the rim? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, you can agree to disagree. But I do know there's times where we got to be better with defending without fouling. We've got to be better. But I think the rule of 10-1-4 is the most important rule and it says in there, you can read the rule book, and if you have a hand on an offensive player, it's got to be automatically called. And that's not an ACC rule or an SEC rule. That's a national college basketball rule. So I think that's something to constantly look at.
I'm curious.
I gave a shout out to Mark Packer because he sent me his card. He didn't have to, but I think I don't know if he was trying to, Moose, I don't know if he was trying to work me up or, maybe, or he knew that I was going to give him a pub and make people start, Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you hear anything from the league about calls that you had questions about from the Wake Forest game?
I talked to the league on Sunday, and but obviously, I won't. I don't want to share that publicly and what. But I and had a good discussion, and we talked, and I'll just keep it. If they want to say anything, I'll leave it from them.
When you talk to the director of officials, in hindsight, looking back at some of your conversations, do you feel like anything has changed from those conversations?
No, listen, I have the highest level of respect for Brian Kersey. I think he was one of the great officials to ever do it. I have the highest level of respect for him. I think Moose, did you say that was what was Bobby Kremen's last game here? Who was the official you said? Oh, it was Jamie Lucky. That's right. I have the highest level of respect for Brian Kersey, and he has great officials in this league. Look, we're not always going to agree. There's going to be, every head coach is probably going to disagree with officials if you lose a game. I just think that's just sports. That's in sports in general, But I know, I think Brian's excellent, so to Brian's credit, he allows communication, with him, and I really appreciate that, and that's important to have. He wants the coaches to communicate with them, and I do appreciate that.
But could I follow up?
Yeah.
On that? Go ahead. But I guess the question is, does the message trickle down from Brian to the officials?
Well, no, Brian's in charge of the officials, so I might see, it's no different. I think it's, I could see something my way, he could see something his way. He's in charge of the officials, so, just like I might see something that I see in way with the players, and a player might see it a different way. I mean, that's just, everyone can see things from their lens, and so, to Brian's gonna, if he feels one of the officials makes a wrong call, he's going to hold he or she accountable. If he doesn't feel it was a wrong call and he feels it's correct, then he feels they've got an accurate call, and that's his job. I mean, that's his job. He's the head of the official. So in the end, I respect 100% of what he says, and he's in charge of the officials.
If adversity builds character, you guys have had more character than you really want to try to stomach here the last few weeks. But what have you learned about your team and maybe your staff and you during this stretch?
Yeah, Randy, I don't know. I mean, I've talked to our guys like, look, I mean, I've never have gone through into my career, and nobody has gone through that, where we've had a tough season, really tough season. But I've told our guys that, this is a real opportunity to really reveal character, integrity, principle. It's easy when things are going well to be a rah-rah person, but I think when things are not going well, who you are, do you show up every day? Are you going to have great energy? Are you going to bring it? Are you going to do your job? Have great, just focus, and those are all part, as you know, Randy. I mean, with character, and I use the integrity and being principled and doing things the right way and not wavering off of course. I think all that's important when things are not going, or when you're going through tough times. Now, look, our tough times are within the basketball world, and everyone here has had other, tough times in their life, and way more tougher times than just basketball. But we've all experienced things. That being said, is you got to show up every day, and you got to be you got to do your job even when things aren't going well.
Two more, Kelly, if you can.
I mean, to not put a fine point on it, but obviously there's a lot of outside noise about the program and your seat getting warm and stuff like that. And you have a game like the Wake Forest game where clearly there were some questionable calls. Exterior media are picking up on the fact that there were questionable calls in that game. How do you deal with that as a coach, and being in a situation where you need to show progress with a new AD and all that, and that's got to be a really tough situation for you and your staff to go through, and the players as well are probably feeling the stress from that as well. Like, how do you deal with that as a coach?
Well, look, Kelly, I hope I'm the head coach at Georgia Tech for the next 25 years. I hope to be here as long as, Mr. Bat and President Cabrera will allow me to be here. So that's one. So I hope to be here for as long as I can be here. I love Georgia Tech. I love the job. I don't take this job for granted. I know how special this job is. I know how special Georgia Tech is. I know how special it is to be a student here. I know how special it is to be a student athlete. I know how special it is just to be around even for myself, to be in the same, faculty of all these tremendous professors and people that have just invented things and have done just incredible things, have improved people's lives. And so I'm in awe of every day to be at Georgia Tech. And so I love it here. I have tremendous passion for it. I know this season hasn't, we haven't had the results that we all want to have. And our guys are fighting like crazy to try to get as many wins as we can get, and all we can focus on is that. And in the end, I mean, obviously, Mr. Bad and President Cabrera are the bosses, but yes, we want to win games, and we had a chance there, and and those things can be gut wrenching when you lose a game like that. There's no question it is gut wrenching, but you got to pick yourself up, and get ready to go on Wednesday, and keep fighting and try to get some wins and do the best you can. And and we had a great group of guys. We got a great. I love our young men. They've been fantastic. They're good people. They represent Georgia Tech. I've got a great staff, and unfortunately, we've been a little snake bitten this year. I don't think there's any denying that, and there's no excuse for that. I mean, we just in the end, there's a scoreboard, so you've got to try to. You want to win. You want to win the games, as many as you can. But again, like I said, I hope to be at Georgia Tech as long as Mr. Bad and President Cabrera allow me, because I love this place. I love the people here. I love our young men. I love everybody that's involved in Georgia Tech, and I don't take it for granted. And I realize how special of a place this is, and that's speaking from my heart.
Can't last one. Nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.